Hello, my name's Florez Garcia. This presentation has been made for my participation in the Open Merit Competition 2022 at the University of Magdalena. I am an English teacher with almost 20 years of experience in public high schools and universities. In the last 7 years, I have been working for a foreign language teacher preparation program at a public school in Medellin, where I have taught courses such as ELT methods and approaches, English composition, L2 academic writing, research, and teaching practicum. The course that I have designed for this competition is called English ELT Materials Development. This is a course designed to be developed in a total of 64 hours in class and 128 hours of independent study work. Having a course like this in a foreign language teacher preparation program as the one offered in the University of Magdalena is of paramount importance. We know that ELT materials play a key role in successful language learning and also in the organization and coherence of the EFL classroom. We also know that EFL teachers face the challenge of selecting, adapting, implementing, and evaluating teaching materials in their everyday practices. This is a very challenging task, especially if teachers don't count on theoretical and methodological criteria for materials development and evaluation. Therefore, I consider that pre-service teachers should develop the necessary knowledge and abilities that prepare them to face such a challenging task as future teachers, and also to raise their awareness of their active role as developers and evaluators of their own ELT materials. Accordingly, I have stated a set of basic competencies that students will have to develop throughout the course. At the end of the course, students will be able to identify principles and procedures for developing and evaluating ELT materials. They will be able to evaluate published and online ELT materials. They will also be able to plan and carry out a needs analysis of a particular teaching learning situation. Then they will be able to make a proposal for the design and implementation of ELT materials based on the results of their needs analysis. And they will be able to define, implement, and evaluate their own ELT materials. The evidence of a student's achievement of these learning outcomes will be collected throughout the development of this course. I have organized the course into 4 units. Unit 1, which will last 3 weeks, has the purpose of helping students get acquainted with theories and practices on ELT materials development. The second unit, another 3 weeks, has the purpose of helping students conduct evaluations of existing ELT materials. This is what the literature calls predictive evaluation. During Unit 3 and 4, students will develop a course project. In Unit 3, the students will start analyzing teaching learning situations and then make proposals to develop their own ELT materials that responds to those different situations. In Unit 4, students will design and implement their teaching materials and evaluate the effectiveness of such an implementation. This is called retrospective evaluation. The topic that I'm going to present today as a demonstration of what this course has to offer to students is, of course, the very first topic in Unit 1. Unit 1 is designed to be developed in 3 weeks. This chart on the screen shows what's going to happen in the first week. On day 1, I will introduce the course. Then I will explore students' background knowledge and previous experiences with teaching and learning materials. And on the second day, we will explore the definition, purposes, benefits, and challenges in ELT materials development. To develop these concepts, to explore this topic, I will pose the following guiding questions. What are materials? Why are they important? What benefits and challenges do teachers find in materials development? These guiding questions will help students explore this first topic. Defining teaching materials is not easy. Tollinson provides a broad definition of what counts as teaching materials. He says, anything which is used by teachers and learners to facilitate the learning of a language. Within this broad definition, Mission and Timmis observed 2 broad categories in which we could classify teaching materials. They say, for example, that some materials can be considered as products. That is, digital materials such as DVDs, emails, YouTube videos, etc. Also, paper-based materials such as dictionaries, grammar books, and workbooks. And realia, newspapers, food packages, photographs, and so on, are products that count as materials. Mission and Timmis also consider materials to be processes. For example, talks offered by guest speakers and the instructions given by teachers in the classroom. The roles of teaching materials in the EFL classroom are many. Some of them are stated by Mission and Timmis. For example, materials help meet a psychological need, including student interest, motivation, their sense of order and progression. They provide exposure to the language. They can introduce students to a new written or spoken genre. They are vehicles of information, providing students with opportunities to learn vocabulary, grammar, culture, learning strategies, etc. They also provide a stimulus for other activities. Materials can elicit students' response and also foster their independent learning. And also, materials can act as teacher education. For example, a teacher's guide may stand for a good model of practice for many teachers. Some benefits and challenges that teachers have identified in materials development in the Colombian context, for example, are stated by Ramos and Aguirre 2014. Some of the benefits teachers have perceived are teachers' empowerment. They can contextualize the material to their specific situation and students. Materials increase students' motivation. Teachers learn more about their students' interests and needs, and they find themselves enrolled in a systematic process of reflection on the usefulness of their own teaching materials. Among the challenges that teachers face are satisfying the multiple requirements they need to take into account students and teachers need, but also administrative requirements. Accounting for cultural consciousness, that is, including cultural content that are relevant to students in their materials. Of course, the lack of institutional support and sponsorship to develop their own teaching materials. And finally, the demanding task of carrying out a systematic evaluation of the implementation of such material, which is time consuming, and they don't usually have the resources to do that. Of course, I'm not going to teach my students this topic through a lecture. I'd rather engage students in different activities and strategies along this first week. For example, after introducing the course, on the first day, I will have students brainstorm on their previous knowledge and experiences with teaching and learning materials. To help them do this task of brainstorming, I will use this application, which is called Pod Everywhere, which will allow me to show students this question and other questions, and they will be able to answer from their cell phones, tablet, or laptops. If students don't have these devices, we can have this first class on at the computer room. Through this application, I can ask open questions like this one. What English teaching materials did your school teachers use? Students will answer, and then their answers will be portrayed in the form of a word cloud, like this example. Another example that I would like to show you. This is another open question. What English teaching materials do your teachers use at the university? This one, which of the following pictures may not be considered a teaching material? Students will be able to see pictures of different potential materials and decide which one may not be considered a teaching material, and we will see the answers provided by students in this form, as you can see on the screen. There isn't a correct answer to each of these questions. The idea is to promote discussion and trigger students' previous knowledge and introduce them into this topic. Let me go back to the presentation. After the brainstorming, I will ask students to read the introduction in Mission and TIMIS 2015 for the following class. In the second class, we will discuss the ideas in Mission and TIMIS. And in that same class, students will start working in small groups to read Ramos and Aguirre 2014. And these small groups will start summarizing the main ideas in these two tests, and also the main ideas discussed in class. To summarize those ideas, I will ask each team to create their own summary chart using this application, Padlet, in which they can create different categories about ELT teaching materials. For example, different definitions, types of material, roles, benefit, and challenges. In this Padlet, students will be able to include their notes, the different definition from the different sources of information, but also to add links to websites or link to videos, and even they could upload tests. In this Padlet, students will summarize all the main ideas about the topic from the different sources and of course what has been discussed in class. These different activities and strategies will prepare students for what's next in the unit and of course in the rest of the course. Thank you very much for watching.